Good afternoon. The smoke is mostly cleared in the GTA, but wildfires continue to burn across the province. The Premier provided an update this morning on how the province is dealing with the wildfire situation. CTV John Musselman's been following Ontario's wildfire response and joins us live with more. John.
Well, Nathan, the Premier had a news conference here today at the Provincial Emergency Preparedness Office. He's telling us that there's more than 200 fires still burning in northwestern Ontario. At least 50 of those are burning out of control. Now, we're learning that involves about 730,000 hectares of land that's on fire now, and the evacuations of more than a dozen communities. We're talking about 1,800 people that have been displaced from that region. Now, communities in Thunder Bay, Barrie, Sudbury, Niagara Falls, and Toronto are also hosting a lot of the people who have been displaced by these fires. But again, the situation up there is not good. The fires are still burning out of control. We did hear from the Premier today. Also, we heard from Minister Jill Dunlop about what's happening up there and what the province is doing.
We know that the fire is expanding from 650,000 hectares up to 735,000 hectares. So it's moving quickly, and as of this morning, there are a total of 190 wildland fires across Ontario. 56 of those are still considered not under control, 112 are being observed, and 6 are being held, and 16 are under control. We have 155 fire crews and approximately 80 water bombers and helicopters remain in operation across the north, with roughly 40 additional support aircraft ready to assist.
We're working closely with the host communities to ensure that those services are provided once an organization or once a community is coming into a host city. We mentioned Ontario Corps is also helping, so we have Ontario 211 is acting as an information line for non-emergency calls. We have Feed Ontario and the Ontario Federation of Indigenous Friendship Centres, who are also working at deploying food, emergency food to those communities. Global Medic, we delivered actually N95 masks to Thunder Bay when we were up last week. They're doing hygiene kits. Red Cross is setting up the evacuation center for us in Thunder Bay. That's for communities like Collins First Nation and Armstrong, who are unincorporated communities, so they have a place to go as well.
Now, the Premier went on to say that he's also going to sit down with Prime Minister Mark Carney and talk about a national fire strategy. He says we're going through this, it seems like, every summer, and it needs to be a coordinated effort right across the country. Reporting live, I'm John Musselman. I'll send it back inside to you.
All right, thank you, John. Meanwhile, the Premier responded to comments by U.S. President Donald Trump suggesting he'll begin to charge Canada for wildfire smoke, which drifts south of the border.
You got to remind President Trump that there's 3.9 million acres burning in the United States right now. And if we had resources, we would send them down to our closest friends and allies. So, you know something, rather than criticize and threaten Canada, your closest friends, maybe one day you're going to need our help like you did last year, and we deployed the people. I get frustrated just listening to that bunch of rubbish.
I have a good relationship with Mark Carney, but, you know, we got to stop the fires up there. If we can help them, we'll help them. But maybe they should pay us some damages or something, or we should do some tariffs.
Speaking to reporters at Joint Base Andrews last night, Trump says fires in Canada need to stop and suggested he could impose tariffs in relation to the smoke. It triggered air quality warnings in several states, including Michigan, Ohio, and New York. Still to come, wildfires are burning across the country, with British Columbia also hit hard. We'll have more on the situation nationwide a little later in the newscast. But first, a woman is fighting for her life in hospital following a crash involving a rideshare vehicle in Etobicoke. It happened on the Queensway near South Kingsway around 1:30 in the morning. The vehicle collided with a pole in the area. The woman, who was a passenger in the vehicle, was taken to hospital with life-threatening injuries. A man was also taken to hospital with minor injuries. The cause of the crash is still under investigation. And a 28-year-old man is facing nearly 24 charges following a traffic stop downtown. On Sunday, police seized 2 loaded guns, drugs, and more than $10 in cash from a vehicle near Queen and Denison Road. Police stopped the car going the wrong way on a one-way street. An open alcohol container was also found inside the vehicle. Juan De Leon is facing 18 charges. A TTC pilot program targeting drivers who illegally pass streetcars with open doors begins today. It's all part of an effort to identify ways to address the issue. CTV's Beth Macdonell has been following this pilot program and joins us live with more details. Beth.
Nathan, this program is a step towards more safety for streetcar riders and stopping illegal behavior. So right now I'm at a streetcar stop, and here is where the problem occurs. So starting today, 4 streetcars are being equipped with cameras as part of a pilot project to catch vehicles. So when the cars just like this come through a right lane but a streetcar is stopped, that is the illegal behavior. And so here is the scenario when the problem arises. You will see the streetcar is stopped in the left lane and people are using the right lane to get on or get off the streetcar. And too often cars, e-bikes, bicycles, scooters, and other bikes are driving through this lane when people and putting them at serious risk. The TTC says 141 people were hit by vehicles between 2014 and 2024. The cameras on board the 4 streetcars, that's starting today. The technology is thanks to a BC-based company, and it's rolling out on 5 routes: the 501 Queen, 506 Carlton, 504 King, 511 Bathurst, and 505 Dundas streetcars. The cameras will measure how often illegal streetcar passing happens and test the technology's reliability for future automated enforcement. For now, though, tickets will not be issued. Here's what TTC riders think of the project so far.
I think it's far too late. They should have been doing this for years now. I've gotten off streetcars and almost been hit by cars. I've been getting on and they drive by.
The cameras, I think it's obviously good for the passengers, because sometimes when we're actually getting off of the streetcar, there's a high chance sometimes people don't look on their right, and people also, like the ones who are driving cars, they don't notice the lights that are flashing.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I guess so. It would help.
They're not going to enforce it yet, but they are going to figure out how many people are breaking the rules.
I see. I mean, that's good, but it's just another way of, I guess, accountability for people.
Yeah, getting off and then cars just coming across the door full speed.
Yeah. They just don't notice or don't know the law.
They may not know the law is probably the most likely scenario, yeah.
We've seen from the data we've got is over the last 8 or 9 years, we've had circa 141 instances where there has been instances and collisions adjacent to streetcars. Now, this is about capturing that data more digitally and being able to quantify that in greater detail, because these instances are rising, and this will help us decide how we deal with it in a more rigorous, governed process.
Passing a streetcar when it's stopped carries a fine of $183 and 3 demerit points. Reporting live, I'm Beth Macdonell. Nathan, back to you.
Thank you, Beth. And a note for subway riders on Line 2. Starting tonight and lasting through Wednesday, service will end at midnight between Jane and Ossington Station for track work. Shuttle buses will be running instead. Regular service is scheduled to resume each morning at 6. The FIFA World Cup has come to a close, with Spain taking their place as champions after beating Argentina. Ferran Torres scored for Spain in extra time to secure a 1-0 victory. Spain dominated the game, with Argentina not getting a shot until extra time.
The champions of the world are Spain!
And this is Spain's second World Cup title, following a victory in 2010. The country also holds the Women's World Cup title and European Championship. Argentina captain Lionel Messi was emotional following the game, though the 39-year-old has not indicated whether this is his final World Cup appearance. Thousands of people took to the streets in Madrid following Spain's victory. And after the match, Ferran Torres said his winning goal belonged to the 47 million people of Spain. And the team arrived home today with Captain Rodrigo Hernandez holding the World Cup trophy. Now, the squad will be greeted by Spanish royalty and the Prime Minister before boarding an open-top bus for a parade through central Madrid this evening. A ceremony with the players will then be held at a square where previous Spanish national teams and their supporters have traditionally gathered to celebrate. And this was the scene on College Street following the win, with Spanish fans in this city also gathering to celebrate the victory. And Toronto played host to 6 matches during the World Cup. This morning, the mayor and other officials offered some insight into the impact those games had on the city. And CTV Sean Leathong's been following this story and joins us live with more. Sean, a pretty good run. I wonder what the reaction was to all this.
Well, Nathan, the big question coming out of all this, is it worth the $380 million price tag? Where I'm standing right now, Liberty Village was ground zero for the pregame for all 6 of the World Cup matches that were played at Toronto Stadium. We can now call it BMO Field once again. And there was a lot done to prepare, and there was a lot that was seen within the city. Some of the early statistics that we got was there was an estimated 300,000 international visitors that would come to the city of Toronto. What did that turn into as far as dollars and cents? Now, after Toronto's last match, and that was about July 3rd that the statistics came out, there was an 18% bump in hotel occupancy or spending compared to the year previously. Beyond that, bars and restaurants had only seen about a 3% uptake at that time compared to last year. So there's some question marks as to whether the dollars really did come in. Now, those upgrades that we saw to BMO Field, obviously we knew about the 17,000 temporary seats they had to put in. Those are since coming down, but there was $120 million spent on upgrades to the stadium. Much of that will be permanent in the way of internal locker room facilities to the stadium, as well as the sound system. And there was a permanent structure built on the north end of the stadium. Now, Olivia Chow talked about it a little while ago, as did the city manager, Paul Johnson. Here's what they had to say.
250,000 people came out for 6 matches at the Toronto Stadium. Another 350,000 came to FanFest. 60,000 more watched right here at Nathan Phillips Square, all without a major safety incident. On match days, the streets were filled with fans marching to the games. Transit ridership was high. More people rode bike share, and traffic continued to flow. This is the testament to the preparation and hard work of countless individuals.
It started with the roar that still, I think, reverberates around the city of Canada's tying goal, which allowed them to get their first point in World Cup competition, and ended with that amazing Portugal and Croatia experience. But for the teams, they also needed to train between and before matches, and our training facility at Centennial Park was world-class. To our Parks and Recreation staff, thank you for being one of only 5 training sites, and there were 75 across the host cities and areas for this World Cup. One of only 5 that received FIFA's highest rating for a training pitch.
And that is a legacy, the training facility at Centennial Park. Now, there's also incredible moments like when Cristiano Ronaldo appeared at that park, and the fan outpouring was just absolutely amazing. And then there's the question about the legacy for Canada soccer. It couldn't have gone much better for Canada if you know what our world ranking was going in compared to how they did, managing to get to the round of 16. So it appears, and we just talked to a couple of people moments ago who are big soccer fans, saying it's inspired many people. It could inspire a new generation. We'll be speaking with somebody this afternoon just about what this could mean for Canada soccer going forward. But as far as it went on the pitch for Canada soccer, a very successful World Cup. The dollars and cents, we'll find out later. Reporting live, I'm Sean Leathong. Nathan and Michelle, send it back to you.
All right. Thank you, Sean. Preparations are continuing for the Ontario Honda dealers Indy in Markham as crews work to install cement barriers and fencing near Union GO Station. The CTV News chopper was over the area this morning. The access road east of the station will be closed until 4 p.m. and again from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. Metrolink says YMCA Boulevard will remain open for access to and from the parking lot and station. The Ontario Honda dealers Indy at Markham runs from August 14th to the 16th. We have more news in a moment, but first to check on the forecast. There's a live shot at Nathan Phillips Square. We know the World Cup is over, but you can still head down there and play a little bit of soccer. At least that's how it looks. Skies noticeably more clear, air quality much better. A great start to the work week. Let's bring in Lindsay Morrison with a look at the current conditions. Hey, Lindsay.
Hey, Nathan. Yeah, a few things have changed since you and I last spoke together on the air on Friday. For one, we had those pretty wicked thunderstorms roll through on Saturday, but that did what we hoped it would do. It helped clear some of the air. So air quality warnings are gone in southern Ontario. They do remain in place for parts of the north and the northwest. We are around a 2 on the air quality health index right now at Pearson Airport. At a 4, though, downtown Toronto. So just want to mention that. That is moderate risk. All is clear on the satellite and radar right now. We are enjoying sunshine and, for a change, a blue sky. However, active weather is on the way. Winds are pretty light right now. Temperature-wise, what you see is what you get. 23 degrees feels like 23. And this is your day at a glance. It's likely to feel closer to 30 a little later this afternoon. 26, the forecast daytime high. Tomorrow, we've got more active weather on the way. So coming up, we'll discuss the chance of showers and the risk of thunderstorms. But for now, Nathan, back over to you.
All right. Thank you, Lindsay. Wildfires are burning across the entire country this summer, with many communities struggling to bring them under control. CTV's Scott Hurst has been monitoring the wildfire situation and joins us live with more. Scott, British Columbia has been significantly impacted by the wildfires. What do you know about all that?
Nathan, good afternoon. There are close to 1,000 wildfires burning right now right across the country. We've talked extensively about Ontario. You mentioned British Columbia. But those aren't the only 2 provinces that are dealing with the wildfire threat. And as you might imagine, with close to 1,000 fires currently burning, resources across the country are being stretched thin. And overall this year, there has been just shy of 3 million hectares charred. That's close to 30,000 square kilometers. And so we've already seen a significant amount of damage and destruction. As we've been reporting, there are communities in northwestern Ontario that have already seen significant devastation and destruction. Now, in terms of the firefighting effort, we do know from the Prime Minister that Canada has mobilized some 5,000 firefighters and nearly 300 water bombers, helicopters, and evacuation aircraft to help contain, control, and mitigate the fires. Of course, the fire is the immediate threat, but we've also talked a lot about the air quality and the smoke, because it was, of course, a big deal for many days late last week in Toronto. But the smoke doesn't stop at international boundaries and has wafted south of the border as well. And the fires continue to fuel political tension between Canada and the U.S., with the U.S. president once again threatening even more tariffs against Canada because of the smoke billowing south into the U.S. The U.S. president said that he did have a conversation with Prime Minister Mark Carney over the weekend. They were both in attendance at the FIFA World Cup final, where they did talk about the wildfire situation. But even still, the U.S. president continues to threaten more tariffs on Canada, Nathan, because of the ongoing wildfire smoke wafting across the border.
All right, Scott, what other parts of the country are dealing with these wildfires?
Well, this is a significant concern for many parts of the country. As we mentioned, Ontario is a particular focus, and British Columbia as well. There are parts in British Columbia that have evacuation orders in place as well, meaning people in that province have been forced out of their homes. Northern Ontario got a little bit of reprieve in terms of the weather, but of course it's going to take much more than that to get these fires under control. In British Columbia, there is concern more of the hot and dry conditions, which could continue to fuel the firefight in that province. And of course, we are still mid-July, so there are still a couple more months of what is typically, Nathan, the hottest and driest time, fueling the most severe fires. So there is still lots of concern for the weeks and months ahead.
Yeah, understandable. CTV Scott Hurst in the CTV National Newsroom. Thank you.
Thanks, Nathan.
Well, wildfires are disrupting vacation plans for many Canadians, with flames coming dangerously close to cottages and cabins. Now, in Manitoba, flooding is also adding to the issues. CTV's Alex Carpa has the details.
These are some of our favorite Manitoba campgrounds.
For Alicia Mitchell and her family, camping is an annual tradition, but this summer looked a little different.
Unfortunately, this summer we weren't able to secure any camping within Manitoba.
Mitchell says she's been checking Manitoba's campground reservation website regularly, hoping to snag a cancellation, but so far she hasn't had any luck.
We have done some camping outside of the province and just trying again and hoping for the best.
While demand for campsites remains high across Manitoba, many campgrounds are facing challenges related to flooding and ongoing impacts from raging wildfires. This was the scene earlier this week at Pasha Lake Cabins in northwestern Ontario. Owner Victoria Lafreniere has lived her whole life in the region and says she's never seen anything like this before.
There was embers flying everywhere. It was crazy.
She says the situation has improved over the last couple of days, but says the uncertainty of what could happen is impacting her business.
We actually seen a very significant loss of revenue. I've had a lot of people cancel the rest of the season as well, just because of the worry of the air quality and not knowing what could happen.
And it's not fire, but water that's causing chaos for some campgrounds in western Manitoba, still trying to recover from intensive flooding. Karen Goreluk lost 14 of the 22 sites at her campground after it was hit by 2 major floods in 3 weeks.
The land fell into the river. It's very sandy, and it just started to eat away the first flood, and the second flood took a whole bunch more. So that area, it's half gone.
A lot to navigate for campers like Mitchell, who remains hopeful a spot will open up somewhere this summer.
I have faith that we'll be able to secure a cancellation in one of the campgrounds and get one of those notifications. And if not, then we'll have to wait till next year.
Alex Carpa, CTV News, Winnipeg.
The annual rate of inflation dropped back below 3% in June as drivers paid less to fill their gas tanks. Inflation was 2.8% in June, down from 3.2% in May. Gas prices came down slightly last month amid tentative peace talks between the U.S. and Iran. However, tensions have reignited this month, pushing gas prices higher. The cost of groceries in June increased by nearly 4% compared to the previous month. With Toronto and Vancouver hosting World Cup games, hotel prices in Ontario and BC were up roughly 20%. Ottawa is barring foreign nationals who have been to the Democratic Republic of Congo in the past 21 days from entering the country because of the risk of Ebola. Canada's Public Health Agency says the new temporary measure will take effect at midnight. Commercial and private air carriers are also not allowed to board foreign nationals on flights into the country. Congo's health ministry says at least 930 people have died as a result of the latest outbreak. In the Middle East, the U.S. has launched its 9th straight night of airstrikes against Iran, prompting a response. Tehran retaliated by attacking American allies in Kuwait and Bahrain, home of the U.S. Navy's 5th Fleet. Bahrain sounded its missile alert sirens this morning. Kuwait said its air defenses were firing at an incoming barrage. The Iranian strikes followed a new round of American attacks that hit military command centers, launch sites, and communications networks, among other targets. Moscow's mayor says Ukraine fired more than 400 drones toward the capital in its latest major attack on the city. Russian officials say the drones were fired late Sunday until early today, with most down far from the city. 85 were intercepted near it. Now, 10 people were reportedly injured, while several residential buildings and civilian infrastructure were damaged. Ukraine says it hit logistics facilities and an oil depot in the Moscow region. The blitz came hours after Russia attacked Kyiv and other Ukrainian cities with ballistic missiles. Well, Andy Burnham has officially become Prime Minister of the UK, making him the country's 7th leader in the past decade. The 58-year-old arrived at Buckingham Palace this morning. Now, he's taken over as UK's Prime Minister following his election as leader of the country's Labour Party. And Buckingham Palace released this photo of King Charles meeting with Burnham. During the meeting, the monarch officially invited the former mayor of Greater Manchester to form the UK's next government.
In doing so, I am acutely conscious that I am the 6th person in the last 10 years to walk up this street, the 7th Prime Minister since 2016, making this a moment for reflection and new resolution. It requires my generation of politicians to raise our game and rise to the new challenge.
Earlier in the day, Keir Starmer addressed the UK for the final time as Prime Minister, saying his work was done.
Good morning. I'm about to visit His Majesty the King to offer my resignation and close the book on my time as Prime Minister. My work is done. In 6.5 years, I took our party from a historic defeat in 2019, changed it so it was fit to face the country, and won a landslide general election victory in 2024.
Following his speech, Starmer traveled to Buckingham Palace, where he formally stepped down. Starmer, who was ousted by his own party roughly a month ago, says Burnham has his full support. As Spain celebrates, a land artist is paying tribute to the 2026 World Cup champs in spectacular fashion. He created a 200-meter-high trophy accompanied by the word España. Dario Gambaran used a tractor and a plow to carve the artwork in his 30,000-square-meter field near Verona, Italy. He says he dedicated his creation to the universal value of sport and its ability to unite peoples and nations. Over the years, Gambaran has portrayed many prominent political and historical figures, including Pope Leo, Pope Francis, Barack Obama, and Nelson Mandela.
Well, today is a pretty nice summer day here in the GTA. We've got sunshine, we've got improved air quality, and temperatures pretty close to where we expect them to be this time of year. Here are today's highs. 26 degrees is what we're forecasting in Toronto, feeling closer to 30. Heads up, we have a cooler day coming for the middle of the week. You're going to notice a bit of a fresher feel on Wednesday. And ahead of that, active weather for tomorrow. We'll talk about the risk of thunderstorms, the timing of them, and how much rain we could get. That's on the other side of this break here on CTV News at noon. Stay with us.
Wait. TV News. Text 10400 from your screen to ours. Text 10400.
All right, let's talk about the forecast. You know, I was out late Saturday night. I'm not normally out very late, but I happened to be out wearing a pair of shorts and a T-shirt, and it was chilly, and I was thinking, sometimes these overnights are a little bit cool now.
It's interesting because, you know what, I'm going to put together some stats. We have had very warm nights so far this summer. Of course, we've had warm days. We all experience that. But so many nights this year have been 20 degrees or above. So you notice it when suddenly temperatures are back in the teens, and they were over the weekend. They will be at times this week, too. In fact, there's a couple of days where our daytime high is going to be below seasonal this week. But today is not that day. We are pretty close to where we expect to be. And boy, is it nice to have a beautiful blue sky out there after so much smoky haze last week. Let's get to your forecast. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm. Injury lawyers, you don't pay unless they win. Now, the weekend brought us some sun yesterday and some improved air quality, but Saturday, we had some pretty wild thunderstorms swing through. Sure, they helped clear the air, but they also left a trail of damage in places, including in Elgin County, so south of London. Lots of trees down, and this has been a hot spot for active, damaging weather already this summer. It typically is. In fact, it's sort of in geographically a spot in Ontario where we sometimes it's called Ontario's Tornado Alley. Now, not necessarily saying that's what happened here. Some very powerful winds, though, associated with that front. No doubt investigators will be looking into some of this. So again, that's Elgin County in southwestern Ontario. Let's talk about what's happening here in the GTA. We have seen less in the way of thick smoke blanketing our region, and it looks like there will be further improvement with more wet weather into the day tomorrow. But as I've been mentioning, wildfire smoke, so long as these fires are burning, this could be an ongoing story for us, something that we keep an eye on right through the summer, likely. But again, very happy to see improvement, and this is part of the reason why. Once again, there has been rain today in parts of northwestern Ontario where so many of those fires are burning. Of course, we don't want any lightning. We don't want any further fires to spark, but the rain certainly welcomed, and cooler conditions expected in this part of Canada also, which I think will help matters. We are looking at active weather into the day tomorrow. Some areas could get a decent drenching, maybe upwards of 20 millimeters of rain. That will be especially true if there do end up being some severe thunderstorms. Let me show you the forecast radar. So just a heads up, first round of showers in the morning, perhaps an additional round midday. And then, believe it or not, more thunderstorms are going to be possible into your Tuesday evening. So we'll keep an eye on things. In the wake of that, Wednesday is going to be a cooler day with some brisk winds off of the Great Lakes. We might still see a couple of lake effect rain showers. By Thursday, we should be into more consistent sunshine across southern Ontario. So that will be a nice return. It is 23 degrees right now, and into the evening hours tonight, it is going to be warm but not too hot. You'll recall this time last week we were in the middle of another heat wave. 20 degrees, the overnight low again tonight, so a little warmer like we've been discussing. Tomorrow's high 25 degrees, feeling more like 32, but again, if we do get a round of thunderstorms moving in, that's likely to cool the temperature right down. There's 22 degrees on Wednesday, lots of sunshine for both Thursday and Friday, and the weekend looks not bad either with seasonal highs expected too. That's the forecast. Nathan, back to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. The Tampa will be without their head coach as the team wraps up a 9-game homestand tonight. Sandy Brondello has been suspended for a game without pay after being heard making a racially insensitive comment about Atlanta Dream star Angel Reese during a game on Friday. Brondello's comment was picked up by the broadcast after Reese collided with Tempo player Naira Sabali, who had to leave the game with an injury. Reese says that she has accepted Brondello's apology and also is grateful the league took action. The Tempo will host the Las Vegas Aces at Coca-Cola Coliseum tonight, with tip-off set for 8. The Blue Jays sit 4.5 games back of a wild card spot as they host the Tampa Bay Rays tonight.
This one lifted deep right field. It is carrying, and it will go.
The White Sox took a 3-0 lead into the 6th inning yesterday afternoon, and that would be the final score, as the Jays were unable to mount any offense. All-star starter Dylan Cease will get the ball for Toronto tonight, with first pitch against Tampa set for 7:07 at Rogers Centre. Sailing crews from across Canada and the U.S. gathered in Charlottetown this weekend with 2 national titles on the line. As CTV's Maria Saru tells us, it was also a chance to qualify for the World Championships.
The fleet moves fast and the margins are small. But before the competition hit the water,
3, 2, 1.
Crews spent the morning getting their boats and their nerves ready.
We want to win.
Kelly Hansen from Ontario hauled his J70 to PEI and along with 3 American teammates is chasing a Canadian championship in hopes of qualifying for the 2027 Worlds.
It's very, very close. You can hit a finish line around 4 boats and be either first or fourth, like within inches.
Across the dock, Islander Stephen Leclerc rigged a different kind of boat. He runs the bow on a J29 and has raced with the same crew for nearly 3 decades.
You know, the competition really has gotten stronger over the years, and so now firsts are hard-earned victories.
The sailors come from all walks of life, says Charlottetown Race Week Chair Jim Thompson.
A lot of these people are ordinary folks. They're carpenters, they're house inspectors, they're electricians, engineers, and they just love getting on the boats and racing with this high-tech gear.
And for many, winning is far from the only reward.
We come to these cool places. You can see out here, it's really cool.
I love getting out there on the water, and it's a great time with great people.
Maria Saru, CTV News, Charlottetown.
Still to come, a new study suggests taking part in cultural experiences can keep you young. We'll have those details when we come back. Toronto in the summertime offers all kinds of cultural experiences, from music to theater to art and beyond. And a new scientific study shows those cultural experiences can actually keep you young. Now, for more, we're joined by CTV science and tech specialist Dan Riskin. This is my kind of study. I love these cultural events, especially here in the city.
Yeah.
And that'll keep me younger?
Yeah, it's going to keep you younger. You're not just doing it to support the artists or to keep the city great, which you are doing, but it actually keeps you younger. So this comes from a study of UK adults 50 and over, 1,800 of them. And, you know, there's your age on your passport or your birth certificate, but then there's also your physiological age. And they measured that by having these adults do a bunch of different things like squeeze a stick and measure how hard they could squeeze or how well they balance, cognitive tests. And from this, they get this physiological age. And then they ask them a bunch of questions about how they spend their time. And what they found is people that are going out at least twice a month to an art gallery or to live music or anything cultural tend to be about a year younger in terms of how their body's doing compared to people that don't get out at all to do that kind of stuff. And so it's just a nice reminder. It's not surprising because art is so good for the brain, and the brain is part of the body and it's all connected. But it's just nice to know that when you're getting out there making the most of your summer, it's paying dividends. It's also good for your health.
Yeah, it's a good reason to go check anything. Honey, let's get out there and it'll keep us young.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good line.
All right, so this story, okay, a lot about space we don't know. So now we want to send these big mirrors into space. This has been approved, a company in California, to shine the sun's light onto different planets. Could this be dangerous?
Yeah, so the idea is to shine it on our planet, but to shine the sun's light into places that are supposed to be experiencing nighttime. I don't like this idea one bit because I think about all the wildlife that would be totally thrown off by it, but they've gotten approval from the FAA. So the idea is put up a constellation of mirrors. They're high enough up that they can see the sun even at nighttime, and then you're sitting in your dark part of the world, but the reflection of the sunlight makes it so that you're in the sunlight. And so if there were a solar farm there, like a whole bunch of solar panels, that'd be great because you could get energy 24/7. If you had a big farm field, according to the private company that wants to do this, they're saying you would get bigger yields from your crops because you get more sunlight. Whether that's true or not, because plants do different things. They need nighttime, just like animals do. But anyway, that's unclear. But they were able to get approval from the FAA to launch this thing and to try it out with 1 or 3 mirrors to see if it works. And if their plan goes ahead, they would have thousands of them. And wildlife biologists, astronomers, all kinds of people are like flipping out because there was no environmental assessment needed because this isn't something that happens on Earth. It's a space thing. And so in U.S. law, it doesn't need environmental assessment. But on top of that, they could shine their light on any country they want. But under U.S. law, you don't have to check with any of those other countries. Space is sort of... So it really highlights the fact that we need a different set of rules for space. Things are getting busy up there. There's some ideas. And it can't just come down to which tech bro has a good idea and gets approval from the FAA in the U.S. to have consequences for our whole planet.
Well, if you're saying that, then I agree. All right, finally, really quickly, Artemis 2, that is done. And we're now looking at the amount of engagement in the streaming numbers, and I'm guessing it was really high.
It broke all the records for NASA. They've released some numbers. They say 150 million people tuned in. During launch, there were 3.6 million people watching their live stream. During re-entry, there were 3.8 million people. Those numbers just blow everything else out of the water. And I think what's really cool about Artemis 2 is the way it captured people. I think it snuck up on people. It was sort of like this unknown sort of, what are they doing? Are they going to the moon? I don't really get it. To holy smokes, they're farther than anyone's ever been. Holy smokes, they're coming back. Wow. And of course, for Canadians, having Jeremy Hansen on board, it's wonderful, and it's nice to know that the numbers back it up. People really were engaged.
Yeah, it was very special, as we're always engaged with you. CTV Science and Tech Specialist Dan Riskin, thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right, still to come, auto workers at Ford have approved a new 3-year deal. We'll have more on the new contract when we come back.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
There's some potentially big news concerning the opening of the Gordie Howe International Bridge between Ontario and Michigan. The U.S. ambassador to Canada hinted today it will happen this week.
On Friday, I will be with Dominic and with Mark Wiseman. We're opening a bridge. Okay, so on Monday, Friday we're opening a bridge which shows the collaboration between the two countries and the trade.
The U.S.-Canadian friendship, partnership, and success. Thank you.
Thank you all.
The opening of the bridge was delayed after U.S. President Donald Trump demanded economic concessions, but a deal was later reached between Canada and the U.S. Details of that agreement have not been revealed. Canadian workers at the Ford company have given their stamp of approval to a new 3-year contract. The agreement, covering more than 5,000 employees, has been ratified, with Unifor announcing some details last night. It includes a general wage boost of 9% over the length of the deal, as well as signing bonuses, pension and benefit improvements, and investments at Canadian facilities. The new contract takes effect September 21st and will be used as a basis for the union's negotiations with Stellantis and General Motors. Beginning today, some Canadians will see an increase of roughly 2% of their federal child benefit payment. For eligible parents with kids under 6 years old, it's an increase of $160 a year. Now, for those with kids between 6 and 17 years old, it's an increase of $135 a year. Roughly 3.6 million Canadians will see their payments increase. The Canada Child Benefit is adjusted to inflation. School is out for summer, but a group of girls in Saskatchewan are continuing to learn. Now, they're taking part in a course aimed at setting them up for a career in the skilled trades. CTV's Alison Bamford has the story.
Chipping away at a job that requires patience. 13-year-old Aaliyah White is scraping off excess glue before she can move on to the next step.
Some of it's like satisfying, some of it's just fun to do.
These young girls are building tables and learning the tricks of the trades as part of a week-long camp offered through Saskatchewan Polytechnic.
Well, I like that it's creative. You can build whatever you want.
Today's lesson is carpentry, after learning about welding and electrical work earlier in the camp.
We learned how to make like a circuit board. I didn't know anything about that at first, and then through the camp I learned how to do that.
For many of these girls, this is their first introduction to the skilled trades, and they are building much more than just these end tables that they get to take home.
It helps build confidence in them. These skills never go away. They're always going to be useful.
Men continue to dominate Canada's skilled trades field. The most recent stats show females make up just 12.5% of apprenticeship program registrations.
We're trying to help that number grow, and whether you pursue a trade or technology, or whether you're just a homeowner, a DIYer looking to advance some of your skills, these camps are a really great starting place for these girls.
And one day these campers might become fully certified.
I'm still deciding what career, but maybe.
I would like to get a job into the trades, but I would also like it as a hobby too.
And when the dust settles, these girls will walk away with lessons for life. Alison Bamford, CTV News, Saskatoon.
Coming up, blueberry picking season is in full swing. We'll have more on a farm taking advantage of a good growing season when we come back. Blueberry bushes are blooming in Ontario, with people making trips across the province to get their hands on them. CTV's Camille Wilson has more on an Ottawa area farm taking full advantage of a bumper crop.
For siblings Michael and Terilyn Herrick, blueberry picking is one of their favorite activities.
That's kind of our tradition. We always kind of meet up here every summer.
We like to take full advantage to see each other whenever we can.
Michael traveling from Ottawa with his family to meet his sister in Pembroke.
We did stuff like this when we were younger.
Blueberry season is off and running at Hughley's Blueberry Ranch for their 48th season.
It's different than just going to the grocery store. Like, you actually get to pick which ones you want, and it's a good little experience.
But with some wild weather leading up to the season, there were fears this blueberry crop could be underwhelming.
We were concerned with it being such a dry fall and a hard winter, but things are looking good, and the rains we've been having have been coming at just the right times, and so the berries are nice and big, and the sun and that heat we had has made them nice and sweet, so it's really good picking right now.
Pick your own blueberries at $9.50 a kilo, and already picked starting at $9.95. The blueberry season runs up until early September with 18 different varieties of blueberries here to pick from. Nice and sweet. And nothing beats testing as you go or the delicious delights after.
We make pies and blueberry cheesecake instead of because it's not as sweet if you make them with the blueberries.
Blueberry products produced at the ranch, including jams, syrups, juice, and much more.
That's the main reason why I was also coming here. But they have a really good bakery.
And for the Herrick family, this event is unique.
It's kind of different from pumpkins or apples or strawberries, so it's kind of enjoyable. It's like one of a kind.
Camille Wilson, CTV News.
All right. Well, I don't normally just eat blueberries by themselves, but in pancakes, donuts. I mean, they're great with anything, it seems like.
Okay, now I want a blueberry donut. That sounds very good. But as a weather person, it makes me very happy to hear when any crop is bumper this year. So that's great news. Let's talk a little bit about the weather for tonight. It's going to be another warm night, even though today isn't particularly hot. We expect the temperature to hover near 20 degrees with a humidex of 25. So for some, that could be uncomfortable for sleeping territory once again. 25 degrees is our expected high for tomorrow, still feeling into the 30s. However, we are looking at active weather, rounds of showers, possible thunderstorms, and that's going to lower the temperature. Might also improve our air quality further. We're expecting to be about a 3 on that AQHI for tomorrow, much improved from last week. Here's the 7-day forecast. So tomorrow's an unsettled one. Keep this in mind as you make your outdoor plans. Wednesday, a fresher feel for sure. Overnight lows in the mid and perhaps even low teens heading into Thursday. Lots of sunshine, though, to finish off the week. And next weekend, Nathan, so far so good as far as it's looking. Might get a little active weather by Sunday.
No, not bad. All right. Pretty good. Thanks, Lindsay. And that's it for CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca. For Lindsay and all of us here, have a great day. I'm Nathan Downer. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6. Have a great day.